Welcome back to my channel, Beyond 60. Do you wonder what the difference is now that we hear the term so much more? The difference between a holistic esthetician and an esthetician? Well, stay tuned. I'm going to have a little video on the difference. I'm asked that all the time. They say, is it because you use green products or you, and that's not what it is. It goes much deeper than that. So let me give a little history on this. Years ago when I first started, we really didn't have a lot of different products to use in our back bar. In the 80s, we had the glycolics. We didn't have a lot of companies. I just went from product line to product line, trying to find the holy grail of to really make some changes. And it started out, we had some apple stem cells from these wonderful trees, and we had glycolics, and we had salicylic peels, and we really started a movement of harming the skin. It was all about creating inflammation, burning the skin, and so it would start producing growth factors and healing, more blood supply, and so. But we didn't realize the harm that we were doing. And about 15 years ago, you can kind of see, after being in the business as long as I have, you can see what's happening in people's skin by certain things that you can see certain patterns. And probably 15 years ago, I got introduced to Dr. Ben Johnson of Osmosis, and he was way before his time. He was a medical doctor that realized he had a company before with about 8 different lasers, and laser, botox, just like what we see today, clinics, and he really realized that how much harm was being to the skin. So he started his own revelation, I'll call it, into holistic, that traditional Chinese medicine, learning what was the cause of things. And that's what introduced me to Eastern aesthetics. And that's traditionally based on Chinese medical, TCM, traditional Chinese. And learning the different types of the body was so intriguing to me. And what I started learning, that Western medical, Western aesthetics deal with symptoms. That's allopathic medicine. Now, traditional Chinese medicine goes back 10,000 years, and that's not how they dealt with diseases and so forth. They studied the bodies, where Western medicine in medical school, they study cadavers. But 10,000 years ago, they were studying what was causing the problems and the system. And the basic system in traditional Chinese medicine is you have 12 meridians. And each meridian is your electrical light. And I always have to create a scenario so I can remember it. Think that you're building a house, and you got to put an electrical box in. And then you have to have all these lines going to every room, to every outlet, and so forth. And that's basically what the meridians are doing. The 12 meridians address our organs, our liver, our intestines, our pancreas, so forth. And our skin is our largest organ, and that's our detox organ. So there's so many different modalities that you may be familiar with, like acupuncture and trigger point. And that's basically based on the same thing of the meridians, our energy network, our chi, or whatever you want to call it. So once I started studying that and realized that pathogens, toxins, and emotions are all what create aging to the skin. And that was something that I had never heard of before. I was never trained like that. So it just opened up a whole new world for me. And even recently, I have been working with holistic dermal professionals, which are two estheticians that have had so much training in Chinese medicine with Chinese masters that they've now created a course for estheticians in this. And this is definitely the future. Facial mapping, and I'm going to put some charts up so you can see what I'm talking. So my whole business has changed. It's not that I look at products. Things are done with my hands, and that's so important. We want to deal with our fascia, our lymph drainage, and working the muscles. So it's not all about what I did in the past, is having so many people on so many products thinking that that's gonna heal the inside. You got to start inside the body, just like I thought. Pathogens, toxins, and emotions are responsible for every wrinkle on your face. I deal mostly with the stomach and the liver and the large intestine, because as I said, your skin, not only is it so smart, but it keeps things out to protect our body. It's hard to get things in. So you might buy a cream that says, oh, it's got all this collagen in it. That's not going down very far. That's going to stay in your epidermis. And that's, again, like I've said before, that's dying. That's grapes, raisins, and cornflakes. So you need to go beyond that. You need to go to your epidermal-dermal junction and get into the dermal to create and reset your skin. From about the age 25, we start losing 1% of our blood supply, our growth factors, our stem factors, our collagen. So you can think of a person maybe at 50, they've lost 25%. So their face is going to, and their body, the whole thing, their whole skin is going to start losing that power. And the technology we have today that we can reset and feed the skin of what it needs. And with the stem cells, with the growth factors, with peptides, all the different things that have been introduced like in the last 10 years, but they're not all going to work until you fix the inside. And mostly what I have problems with, and I'm so, boy, like I said, it opened so many doors for me when I really discovered that most of the problems that we see today that we really didn't have anything to do with, we had to send them all to dermatologists, which that's great. You know, there's a role for them. But we realized that it's coming from the stomach. And it's the disruption of your microbiome, both internally and externally, that we see all these problems. Like, let me take for rosacea. And it's going to show up. We've got rosacea acne. They're very different. It's going to show up in this part of the face, and that has to do with our large intestine. So we know that that's addressing that. But what's happening is the protocol for treatment for as long as I can remember has been antibiotics and a topical ointment, which caused it to be worse. It may correct it for a while, but not for very long. We need to correct the microbiome in the stomach. So I do a very comprehensive intake on my clients. I want to know what their diet is. I want to know if they've got acid reflux, if they've got H. pylori, if they've got, like you've heard me say, emotions. Maybe they've had a traumatic event happen to them. It's going to show somewhere on the face. Not every wrinkle is there forever. that's through your emotions. And the way that we handle it in today's world, which 15 years ago, that's what I addressed, is of course going and having botox and fillers and those kind of treatments at your plastic surgeon's office. But I have seen over the years how traumatic those are and how accelerated in aging that is. And I did an experiment because I am kind of anti Botox because it accelerates the aging of the skin. And what I want you to think about is if you paralyze a muscle, let's say you broke your hand and it's in a cast, and it has to be. So what happens when it's done? That muscle has atrophied. So it's only coming back a certain amount. You need to go to physical therapy and have it worked on. And that's exactly what's happening to what Botox does. And they're starting so young right now, and I've seen just a real acceleration in that, because once you start, then the acceleration you can see the forehead moving down. And that's creating eye problems. That's creating the shift here. And I'm not against the whole thing. If it's something that you love, then you need to continue with it. But there's studies that show that it's in the stem, it goes to the brain stem, and that's not comfortable for me. When I look at a product line or look at things that I want to address and use on my clients, they there's a rule I have, and that's called the Toxic 12. And you'll have a chart up here showing this. And these are all the products and the chemicals that they have in there and what they do. And you say, why do we have to have so many preservatives and stuff in all of our products? Well, I'll tell you, the reason being is out of the 6 major manufacturers of cosmetics are made in China, and I don't understand that. Yes, that's cheaper to produce, but to be made in China, to be container over here, and to sit on the store shelves and in the department stores, they have to have preservatives in there. And those preservatives are so toxic, and that's what I chose not to use. I work with a lot of cancer people. Well, they don't need them either, because some of these are estrogen disruptors, and they mimic estrogen in our body, which has been some of the leading to breast cancer. And this is, you don't see this being researched with the FDA, because holistic and homeopathic, the money isn't there to do all the research on this, because it's not going to be a prescription. So there's money in the prescription with the FDA. So you have to pay for your own trials and your own, like I work with a couple companies and I do the testing for their products. And so I've seen so much of this in my practice. I've seen the correction and the reset of aging, which has been absolutely fantastic, especially in the last couple years when we started using the STEM factors. And I know it's a big word, and growth factors and peptides. And I'm going to do another video coming up here on those and kind of explain them, how they work with my interpretation, my scenarios, but kind of give you a good idea of what's happening, and so you can make better choices in what you're choosing. So back to where I do a very in-depth, I want to know what's going in that person's life. I want to know if they have had, like I said, terrible stress. Stress is so terrible, and you think about I think somebody told me this one day, the caveman. The caveman, our bodies are exactly the same. And they went through a lifetime of stress as we do in one day right now. And there's so much of that, and that makes such a difference. It makes such a difference in your skin because it's producing cortisol, and that's not good. So one of the first things that I try to teach my clients is either meditation or breathing. Breathing, and this is, if you think about the monks that don't talk and they go through this meditation, they have beautiful glass skin and beautiful, no wrinkles. And that's what's causing it, around our mouth, on this area, because we're so, and this in here is, of course, fat loss and lymph drainage. As we start getting older, again, like I said, your lymph system is your toxic system, and that's releasing the toxins. So that needs to be released, and I teach my clients to do that. And there's several methods. There's gua sha. I'm sure you've all heard about that. I have my rollers. I have my fabulous tool that I use all the time on my skin daily, and you just kind of work it and work that lymph out of there, because that as your lymph gets stagnant in these areas where these ports, where all these lymph glands are, you start getting puffiness, and that shows up in so many people, and you can, even the younger ones, because maybe their diet's not good. And that's the other thing, the toxins that we're getting from our diet are everything. Even our farmers, they can't even grow organic anymore without having their insurance premiums just skyrocket. Everything like corn, your soy, is all genetically modified with Roundup, and that is toxic. That's carcinogenic. So this just with the development of, not even the development, what my development of holistic aesthetics showed me, this can be reversed by changing that person's life and their diet and their exercise routine, and then adding the topical ingredients that's going to make the corrections. And until you do both, you're not going to have the corrections. Yes, you could go and you can have facelifts. Facelifts aren't going to change the texture of your skin. And, and then, and I would love to have one, but it frightens me at this point because I've seen so many bad ones. You just think, oh, I had such bad luck with Botox right here. The one time that I decided to do it, my girlfriend convinced me, because I had one of the first videos I did. I thought to myself, boy, you sure look bad. You need to do something, because my 11s were so prominent. And so she was going to give me, she's been doing it for a long time, so she gave me some Botox. Well, it traveled on me. And then she tried to fix it, and it traveled anymore. So what happened is this eye, which is reverse on the camera, absolutely drooped so bad, like I had Bell's palsy, that when I went to the eye doctor, that eye had macular going on, and I was in a case study. He had to completely put one of those things that held my eye open, and that all went on for 3 months, and I just wasn't a fan. After that, it just scared me to death. I just thought I was going to look like that forever. And I've done a lot of research on that, and it's the doctors that I work with have done a lot of research on it. So to me, it's not my go-to. But what we have is synthetic, and the synthetic Botox is arginine. It is SNAP 8, and that is acetyl hexapeptide 8. There's different serums, deep penetrating medical grade serums that we can use that mimic Botox. And I've been working with those for about 2 years, and I've made a great difference in my 11s here. And also just working all this area. So in future videos, I will show you before and after from about 2.5 years ago till today. There's quite a difference in my face. And you know, being in this business and still working harder than I've ever worked, and I'm going to be 71 in a couple months, it's important to me because I have to look somewhat decent to work on my clients. I've got to give them hope. So back to my holistic aesthetics, I talk about the face mapping. And if you can look on the face map, you're going to see that your esophagus is in here, your small intestine, your colon wraps around here. These are all, and this is your large intestine here that meets up with your small intestine. This is liver, this is liver, this is liver 2 and liver 3 on your back. So your liver and your large intestine are like husband and wife. And it's been proven that if you do breathing exercises all day long, you will hydrate your skin. That hydration is coming from your liver and your large intestine. Not only are the toxins coming from there. So, and you know, it's important that you do a good cleanse for your skin and take care of it. And I'm not saying that you have to use medical grade. I know there's a lot of skincare, if they don't have preservatives and toxins in them, that just the maintenance of that, just by doing your routine at night and not going to bed with your makeup on, because that's your regeneration of cells and blood supply and all that. And they call that circadian rhythms. So people that say to me, well, you know, I don't wash my face at night. Well, you've got to get, even if you don't wear makeup, you've got to get those toxins off your skin, because your skin is purging that. And get your lymphs hydrated and invigorated. And so we can stimulate blood supply. We can do this naturally, not by burning the skin. And that's where the biggest thing changed in my business. In the 80s, like I had mentioned, we really started with the peels. And that is still taught today, is you go into your esthetician and they do a peel on you every time. Well, that's not going to help you, because you're creating inflammation in the skin. So yes, when you create the inflammation, it produces collagen and growth factors and elastin, because it's healing the skin. It's healing the wound there. Just like our body is healing the wound when it swells up when you sprained your ankle and it turns red. That's all our healing from our body that's doing that. So you want to just let it, our skin is so smart. And if you think about it, we don't need to think how we digest food. We don't need to think what process it goes through. Well, it's going down the esophagus and it's going here and here, and then it's mixing with this. No, it's all autonomic, the autonomic portion of our brain. So our skin is so smart. And of course, when we were young, yes, it was on a 28-day cycle, just like everything else. As we get older, it moves up to about 6 weeks. So sometimes you need to exfoliate. But I do that with enzymes and spicules and things that aren't ripping the skin apart. I don't want to create inflammation. My retinols are different. I don't have them create anything that's going to cause that redness and sensitivity to the skin is not good for your skin. And in Chinese medicine, we've got yin and yang. So if somebody comes in and their skin is just beet red, that tells me something's dreadfully wrong in their body, because it's fire. And of course, yin is calming. And think about what the earth does. Our bodies are so much like the earth and the seas. We weren't just put down here with no rhyme or reason. And you think, what does the earth do when it's got too much fire? It has volcanoes. It has fires. Do we have fires to replenish our soils, to bring the nutrients back that have become so sterile? So, it's a rotation of the Chinese metal, wood, fire, and water. And each one is representative in our body. And like I was talking about, our liver and our large intestine are metal. So each section of the skin is related to a different, like I was talking about the meridians, it's related to a different organ. So this chi, or meridians, they're going clear down, so they might be coming down here and coming down here and working its way down to the large intestine and to the liver and so forth, ending in our palms and ending in our feet. And that brings in reflexology. And you've got reflexology in your hands, you've got reflexology in your ears, all over, and trigger point injections. Those are all Chinese based, and we're seeing that more and more all the time. You're seeing our hospitals put in acupuncture, because that's what acupuncture is. It's working with those meridians, and where there's a blockage, there's inflammation, and that's what we work on. Unfortunately, I don't go that deep. I'm working with the upper part of the body. And one of the first things that I do with clients is I want to do a lymph drainage, and I want to do a fascia release. Well, these things, I didn't even know these things 40 years ago. It was never taught. And I don't believe it's being taught today unless you go to a special school and learn it. But I definitely think it's the way of the future of holistic aesthetics, and not being so damaging to the skin. And I, being the last 15 years and having clients that have been with me that long, I have seen a tremendous difference in their skin. And what has changed also is all my massages, how I massage. We can do anything. In the early days, we bought all the expensive equipment. Oh, I think about the money that I've spent on equipment thinking it was going to make changes. No, those changes, they heal from deep inside. And then again, the technology we have today, if we can marry those two together, the results are beautiful. So if I haven't explained it good enough, leave a comment down below. And if you want to know a little bit more about this, if you put your questions in down below, I'll come back with a question and answer and give you some educated guests on things of what I've seen. Also coming up in the future are some of my before and afters. I've been promising those, but those are just about ready. But again, back to being holistic is I don't use chemicals on the face. I don't burn the face. I don't cause any harm to the face. And that's what's going to repair. I want lymph drainage. I want fascia release. I want to exercise that face. And we've got a few tools that we work that have come out in the last few years that I'm just loving, because it activates your blood supply and your growth factors. Because, at 70, like I said, 70 minus 25, I've got about half that blood supply. So when I'm working with somebody, I need to get that blood supply going, get it nourishing the cells, get the cells getting reset to improve the skin, to lift the skin, and again, back to my first thing, pathogens, toxins, and emotions is what creates every single wrinkle on your face. and especially around the eyes. Usually if I see someone who's got a lot of problems in here, which is our kidney area, and up in here, which is our adrenals, they're most of the time not getting enough beta carotene and some of the antioxidants. So I make sure they have an avocado every day because that's really good for that. So there's a lot of things that I suggest we can do. So I look forward to your questions so I can come back and give you some answers. So I want to say thank you. I'm sorry I was so long in getting this video up, but I had cataract surgery and had some problems. But I want to thank you all for following me. It's been very encouraging, and it's going to be a lot about education. Again, my next video, or maybe two, is going to be talking about educating you on what a stem factor is and what a growth factor is, and collagen and elastin, that we just can't pick up a cream at the grocery store that says it's collagen based and think that it's going to put collagen in your skin. That's not going to happen. That's what they want you to think is happening because the marketing is brilliant. But anyway, thank you and peace out to you.